I think anything can happen, but for the most part, no, I really don't. I think it's more about managing it. So, no, I don't believe that the first step is to manage it through medications because that has so many other side effects. But managing it through diet and finding your biggest thing with autoimmune disease is finding what triggers. Because autoimmune disease is when you have antibodies to self tissue. So you have antibodies circulating to self tissue. So every time you stimulate an immune response, you're going to kill that which you have antibodies against first, which is you're going to have more destruction of that self tissue. So if you have antibodies to your myelin sheath cells, and you're going to be constantly stimulating an immune response through, let's say, a trigger of you have food antigens. Let's keep it simple. Let's say you have antigens to gliadin or peptides of gliadin, which is gluten. So, and you're still eating gluten. Every time you eat gluten, you're creating this immune response, right? So you are, because you have antibodies to gluten, you're creating this huge immune response, which you're going to kill that which you have antibodies against, which, well, you'll kill gliadin, you'll kill gluten. Those aren't even killable, right? So they're not living organisms. So you're going to kill, if you have myelin sheath cells, antibodies to myelin sheath cells, you're going to destroy more myelin sheath cells. So your MS or ALS is going to progress the more you eat gluten. So if people could just understand that very basic immune concept, that if you have self-antibodies circulated in your bloodstream for your thyroid or myelin sheath cells or rheumatoid antibodies to your joint capsules, and you stimulate an immune response, even by getting a cold, you're going to stimulate an immune response, and you are going to just, that's why people can have a flare when they feel like they get a cold or something. That you can't do much about, but you can do something about if you're, you know, eating foods that you have antibodies against every time you eat that food. So you got to find out if that is a trigger. If you're taking a bunch of immune supplements because your practitioner said, boy, you need to be on all these immune supplements because of whatever reason, every time you take that immune supplement, you're stimulating an immune response. You're going to kill that which you have antibodies against first, which is your self tissue. So I think just understanding that simple concept, you could go a long way with calming an immune and calming an autoimmune disease. Like, okay, I'm going to go off my vitamin C and I'm going to go off my, immune stimulants. Boy, I feel better already. We hear that all the time with autoimmune patients. Doing some good labs that will test for environmental antigens. So environmental antibodies, testing for that. Wow, I have antibodies to mold. I gotta change my environment because I work in this school that's very moldy. I can tell to change that environment, you're going to decrease your immune flares, which will then decrease the destruction of self tissue, that autoimmune disease that you have. So it's finding those triggers, which are essentially finding what you have antibodies against that you could change, like your diet or your environment, and if you can decrease the triggers, you're going to decrease the destruction. So to answer your question, can you be healed of that? Well, I guess the answer would be healing of an autoimmune disease is you no longer have antibodies to that tissue, and the organ has healed itself. I think there has been evidence of that. People have had Hashimoto's, they've had, TPO or antibodies, and then, they do another blood test, and those are within normal range. So I guess there is healing of certain autoimmune diseases, but it is solely, whether accidentally or purposefully, finding what is the trigger and decreasing that so that the body can heal.